Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, back once again with another Dungeons & Dragons video. Today we are taking a look at the Artificer and the Psionic subclasses. And, well, we are answering probably a frequently asked question by me. But I'm sure some of you have also asked this question. How do you run these two? The Artificer is complicated. It has a spellcasting feature, but it doesn't technically cast spells according to its description. The psionic classes, most importantly the mystic from the Unearthed Arcana, doesn't seem to be magical in any sense of the word. And when described to us how they function, psionics doesn't seem magical by the sense that we see in the Forgotten Realms canon, or Dungeons & Dragons canon in general. At least from what we know. So, the question that I am proposing here is, are artificers and psionic users spellcasters or magic users? Or are they supposed to be treated as a non-magical user? That's what we're going to be answering today, starting with, of course, the Artificer, being the easier one of the two to explain. So, how exactly should we run the Artificers? Well, according to the Eberron book, if we turn over to page 56 of Eberron Rising from the Last War, we get this section, the magic of artifice. As an artificer, you use tools when casting your spells. When describing your spell casting, think about how you are using a tool to perform the spell effect. Now, what this essentially means is that you are using science to cast your spells. It goes on further. If you cast Cure Wounds using alchemist supplies, you could be quickly producing a salve. If you cast it using Tinker's tools, you might have a miniature mechanical spider that binds the wounds. So, how exactly are we supposed to run this? Is it a spell? Is it not a spell? Just a mimicry of a spell? Well, it clearly states it in this section that it is a spell, just isn't seen as one to outside viewers. To quote the section again, as an artificer, you don't study a spell book or pray to prepare your spells. Instead, you work with your tools and create specialized items you'll use to produce your effects. Before that, it says the effect of the spell is the same as a spellcaster of any other class, but your method of spellcasting is special. Let's see, where was it? Here it is. The prior page, page 55. You studied the workings of magic and how to channel it through objects. As a result, you have gained the ability to cast spells. To observers, you don't appear to be casting spells in any conventional way. You look as if you're producing wonders using mundane items or outlandish inventions. Essentially, what it's saying here is that yes, you are producing spells, but you're using science to cast the spells. Essentially, it's kind of like Thor's quote from the Thor movie. Your wizard calls them spells. What you do might be called using a machine of some sort. For the artificer, using a machine is using magic. At least for them. Like the example it gave, it used the example it gave was if you cast Cure Wounds using alchemist supplies, you could be quickly producing a salve. Another example it gives is when you cast Poison Spray, you could fling foul chemicals, or use a wand that spits venom. So, this is kind of tricky. As written, Artificer spells are actually spells. But to an observer, it doesn't look like a spell is being cast. But it still reacts the same way as any other spell. So if you were to cast one of your Artificer spells, it could be counterspelled. As per the description given to us in both Eberron and in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And we're going to be getting to Tasha here in a second because we're going to be going over the psionics. But, as written, yes, the Artificer spells are technically spells. It's much like in the Unearthed Arcana Modern Magic. It's using magic still, but in a way to where it doesn't quite look like magic. More or less, you're using technomancy. In a way. Okay, so the next one is how do we run psionics? Now, originally, what I was going to say here is that if we were talking about the Mystic class, this would be easy, as it is not magic. Clearly not magic, because it is your mind that is shooting forth these spells. You are generating the spells using your mind. You're not using magic to create these spells. Unfortunately, even that is still magic, as I have seen in my research on this particular topic. This is where things get a little bit more complicated, I believe. So, with magic. Magic is branched off into two categories. The arcane and psionics. Technically, shadow magic is another branch, but I'm not getting into that right here. But the two main topics we're going over is psionics and the arcane. It is why mind flayers are able to cast spells even if they don't have levels in a spellcasting class. They can innately cast these spells with their psionics, which is a type of magic. And furthermore, it is why the Mind Flayer Arcanist can use wizard spells and uses wizard levels, but they are considered pariahs to the Mind Flayers. They are outcast. They are shunned for practicing these arcane arts. So, this is another one of those yes and no. Yes, it is different from arcane magic. No, it is not different from magic itself. As written, psionics is another form of magic, even though it is not arcane magic. It still deals with magic itself. So, that's all I've got for you, viewers. Just a quick little video to help explain the as written rules for these mechanics. Like I put in the disclaimer, you do you. You could run the Artificer as a non-magic user. You can run the Psionics subclasses as non-magic users. However, if you're going by rules as written, like I'm sure a lot of people still do, this is how it is written. Both of these cases are magic-based. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I did not annoy you with my ramblings. Until next time, this has been Drehon, and I am offline.